I want to welcome in Jed DeMuesy, who covers Cincinnati sports out in Ohio for WKRC Channel 12. Jed, definitely appreciate you taking some time to talk Big 12 expansion, Cincinnati football, and good to have the football season ready to kick off.
My pleasure. Looking forward to the college football season for sure.
So something caught my eye that you put out on social media earlier today, specifically regarding Big 12 expansion, where you noted the conference was going to be releasing potentially a shorter list of schools that they're going to be considering as they move forward with expansion talks. Just wanted to get some further background, some detail on what you meant by that.
Well, we heard from inside UC some people in the administration that list was coming out as yet to come out as of 4/10. So still waiting to see if the Big 12 does release that list. And it's a part of this ongoing process that continues to sort of drag out and seems to be somewhat rudderless, but this is information that comes directly from the University of Cincinnati, and they are expecting that list will be released today at some point as well.
Do you know, as a follow-up to that, do you know any other details regarding the list? Who's on it? How many teams, etc.?
The only thing I know in terms of who's on the list is that it's UC. And to be quite honest with you, I think that the list is going to look a lot like what the list should have looked like to begin with.
Yeah.
They decided that Northern Illinois was going to get a shot at it, and San Diego State. Nothing against those schools. But I think when you're talking about Big 12 expansion, we're really only looking at maybe a handful of legitimate schools that could really make it work, not only as a university in terms of their academics, but their prestige when it comes to football, when it comes to basketball. Basketball is a big factor in this, Big 12 expansion as well, even though the primary goal, as some would think, is to get enough teams to have a conference championship in football. Basketball is going to weigh into it considerably. So as to who's on the list, for my purposes and from what I've heard, UC is definitely on the list. I'm not sure who else will be on that shortened list, but again, I can only assume it's going to be what the list should have looked like to begin with.
Yeah, and I kind of tend to agree with you. I remember a comment Commissioner Bowlesby made shortly after they did announce that they were going to expand. He mentioned a comment on ESPN Radio where he noted quite drastically that his conference hasn't won a national championship in the sport of basketball in quite some time. So that kind of opened my eyes in terms of, well, maybe football won't be the only driver here. But moving back to Cincinnati and what you heard, how close are you to the Cincinnati administration and staff, and has there been any change since President Ono left the university?
No, there really hasn't been a change with how the athletic department was run. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, in terms of the overall feel surrounding and the sentiment you've gotten out of the university.
No, I don't think so. I think that President Ono did a fantastic job and sort of was almost a mascot as well as a fantastic president. But hottest college in America and all that kind of stuff was his tagline. We work very closely with the university at Local 12, the station I work for, the CBS affiliate here in Cincinnati. I've been to, I would say, Cincinnati has their camp up at Higher Ground, which is in Indiana. They go up there for a week or two and sort of get from everything. So we go with them up there. We're very involved in terms of covering them, not only football but basketball as well. And there's definitely sort of an ease at which, and not just for us, but I think for all media outlets, I think that UC is very easy to deal with. Their sports information department, football-wise, led by Ryan Coughlin, he's one of the best SIDs in the country in terms of making sure that there's some transparency between the media and the athletic department, especially as it relates to football. Mike Bone really has been fantastic to us at the station and to really the media in general. And I think, sort of the people underneath him sort of take their marching orders from him, and there's really never been any sort of issue that we've had with them. And I mean, to be quite honest with you, as fantastic as President Ono was, and as much as he will be missed, that really doesn't bear any bearing on how we do our job on a day-to-day basis.
One more question regarding Big 12 expansion. I'm guessing the sense, and from what I've seen all over social media from the school itself, is they're fairly confident that they will be an addition should the conference choose to expand. Do you agree with that?
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that or not. Just because I don't necessarily know if the Big 12 knows what they want. I think it's hard to sort of get into their head and say these should be the favorites, because there's obviously a part of the Big 12, whether it would be some of their member schools or some of the people in the conference themselves, that are fighting this sort of expansion. Obviously, when the first season of the college football playoff, when they didn't have a team in the Final Four, you would think that would have been sort of the, okay, guys, we need to figure out how to have a championship game, and we need to get more teams in here because we can't have this happen again. Well, then Oklahoma makes it the next year, and you kind of wonder, maybe they think they can get away with not having a championship game after all. So to get into their head is difficult. I mean, in 2 months, it's gone from, no, they're close to the point, to, actually, they're thinking about including Northern Illinois. I mean, and I pick on Northern Illinois. That's always the one school that kind of stands out to me as the team that was on sort of the list to begin with. But I think in terms of, is UC a front runner? I think certainly that they should be, but again, I don't necessarily know what they're looking for, because I don't think they know what they're looking for.
I'm talking with Jed DeMuesy of WKRC in Cincinnati, CBS affiliate. Switching gears over to football. Football is kicking off this week. What have you seen from Coach Tuberville? And they really made some noise with the quarterback selection, going with Hayden Moore instead of Gunnar Kiel. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Tuberville, if you ask him, he'll tell you that he's got quarterbacks. He's got 2 quarterbacks that are capable of leading the team. If one were Ross Trail, he would say that he's got 3 quarterbacks that really are ones that can lead the football team. I think, though, that this was sort of more of a foregone conclusion than Tuberville and UC made it seem. I think Hayden Moore was sort of their guy to begin with. Gunnar Kiel, as good as he can be, just sort of the injury, he's so injury prone, and he's got sort of some other things that are some mitigating circumstances. Obviously, he wasn't with the team when they went to Hawaii for the bowl game this year. There's just sort of maybe, I don't want to say a black cloud. I don't want to put that over his head, but certainly there seems to be more question marks if you were to go with him as your starting quarterback, whereas Hayden Moore, I think, has done all of the right things and has put himself in this position. And I think that Tommy is maybe attempting to sort of kind of calm the waters a little bit, not ruffle anybody's feathers and say, this was, I lost a lot of sleep over it. But I think Hayden Moore sort of was his guy from the get-go.
And then final question, as we preview the college football season, what are your thoughts on Cincinnati this season? You see a lot of predictions depending on who you're looking at on where they're going to finish in the conference. What do you think, being around the team and seeing them on a regular basis, how they're going to perform?
Well, obviously, new offensive coordinator, Zach Taylor, coming in. He was with the Miami Dolphins. That sort of is, the word is that they're going to look more pro-style offensively than they have in years past, which would make sense considering the fact that they lost 6 of their top 7 or 8 wide receivers. So they're sort of going through an offensive switch They've got a couple running backs coming back that are very good, so the focus may be more on the ground than in the air than it was in years past. Defensively, as Tuberville told me yesterday, they can only get better. They were dreadful defensively last year. UC set record for offensive yards from scrimmage, and yet they were still an average team because their defense was so bad. So they've got 8 starters returning there. 7 home games this year. The games that they have on the road, there's only one team they play that had a winning record a year ago. So their schedule sort of sets up nice for them. They have not done well on the road. They've lost 8 straight non-conference road games, which isn't very good. That doesn't include the Miami University Redhawks, which, they can't really play dead in a cowboy movie. That doesn't include them, but they haven't had a lot of success on the road against non-conference opponents. But they have had success at home. They've won 28 straight non-conference games at home, and obviously the big game of the year will be a conference game when Houston comes to town. I think that this team will benefit from not having the spotlight on them. Obviously, last year they were predicted to win the conference, and that didn't go very well, and now they are not. Houston is obviously the runaway favorite to win the conference. I think that they'll benefit a little bit and maybe have somewhat of a chip on their shoulder as it relates to where people think that they'll finish. I think that they have the potential to be a 10-win team, but that will mean that the defense gets better and they figure out things offensively with the new offensive coordinator. But certainly the stars are aligned in terms of how their schedule shakes out and sort of the personnel that they have coming back.
All right, thanks, Jed. Definitely appreciate the time talking Big 12 expansion and Cincinnati football. Definitely looking forward to kicking off the season, and if any news breaks, maybe we'll touch base down the line.
Okay, Matt, I appreciate it.